since March, as I stated before. I was RPN working with the Niagara Health Systems until 6 years ago. I woke up, I lost my sight, my speech, my gait. I have non-epileptic seizures, and through working with Attach, I've actually been able to, I'd say, almost do a full recovery with the processing, and I'm also doing neurofeedback with Lori. And in the last, I don't know, maybe like about a month, 2 months, I have not stuttered. I've not had any tremors. I've not had any seizures. And my pain level has decreased tremendously as well. I don't know if, Lori, if you need to ask me any other questions.
No, I think, thank you for sharing that. I think just the only thing that I'd ask is,
Is the functional neurological disorder? If you
yeah,
need. Yeah, the diagnosis that I have is FND, or which is functional neurological disorder, which is also known as conversion disorder, and that it is brought on by past trauma or stress, and that's why I woke up with the lost sight, speech, gait, tremors, pain, and the non-epileptic seizures.
yeah. And I think too, Jennifer, what like my observations and certainly Tina's is it's very visible, right? We don't always see the shifts that are happening with our clients quite as visibly. But there's been some remarkable shifts with you, particularly in the last month. One of the things that we observed, and I think it was your feedback and feedback from your neurologist, was that when we just were doing neurofeedback, it wasn't getting the same gains as when we were actually processing the trauma. So processing it and pairing it with the neurofeedback seems to really be quite enhancing. And we're just doing that as a bit of a pilot, actually, so far.
Yeah, I find that it's working a lot.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Wonderful.
somebody had a question.
I have a question for Lori. Lori, how did you know what kind of approach to take with this situation?
That's a great question. So because functional neurological disorder and other physical and mental health and uh, things that we can see arising often link back to trauma because trauma gets stored in the body. When we're processing those underlying experiences, we'll often see the nervous system rebalancing or resetting. Neurofeedback also really works at a deep level to rebalance the nervous system. And there was a point in time, because of the stressors happening in Jennifer's life as well, and I won't go into details, but because of the stressors that were happening outside of her control, where her FND symptoms actually really increased, and there was an increase in seizures and an increase in tremors and worrisome things. And so we had actually moved away from the trauma processing to focus more on the neurofeedback. And when we did that, we actually saw that it wasn't quite shifting the same way. So we started back with the processing again. And it's fascinating that when we can treat those underlying experiences, we start seeing shifts in what's happening in our nervous system and our brain, because it seems to help integrate and depotentiate the trauma memory. So put it away in proper space and time. And that allows our nervous system and our brain to rebalance and our mind to rebalance as well, which is pretty fascinating.
Yeah. I have to say that as a board member, while we read the theory, we hear a fair bit, and probably you will have access to any information you want to learn. But this is, for me, this is a really dramatic story about the physical impact. I think those of us who are not involved would only think of it on the emotional level. So I'm thrilled you shared your story with us.
Thank you.
At the benefits you've gained.
Yeah.
Great benefits, because I've been fighting with this for 6 years. So I haven't even been able to work or anything, and now I'm hoping there's a possibility that I can go back to work at some point.
Thanks for sharing, Jennifer.
You're
Amazing.
welcome. Thank you.
Are you okay if I show the graph that I sent you just to explain a little bit?
Yeah, you can share whatever you'd like. It's fine with me. Just even like to know, even that FND is like the software, like it's like a computer, like this software is working, but the circuit is broken. That's how they explain the disorder too.
Yeah, but it's, I think, really hopeful to know that it doesn't have to stay that way, right? And I think,
Yeah.
yeah, and I think your doctor's feedback recently, like just observing the shifts and remarking on the shifts, is pretty cool and hopeful, hopefully.
It's fascinating. Yeah, he said that I'm bright now, that I have a bright and positive outlook. So I was quite pleased to hear him say that.
That's beautiful. Okay, so I'm just going to share. Thank you for sharing. Anybody have any questions at all before we continue? Okay, so this is actually, I'll talk a little bit about this as we go, but this is actually a new tracking system that we're using to track sessions on an individual session by session basis. And what the clients will do is identify what it is that they're wanting to track, and we check in at the beginning of each session. And what's really cool to see is, well, not I shouldn't say, it's helpful to be able to reflect on it. It's not great to see, but a lot of the clients that we work with have life stressors that are happening that kind of bring them up and down throughout the treatment process. And as we go, we start seeing more kind of stability. So you can see there's spikes here and drops, some really significant drops, but then there's, spikes that happen again because life changes and there are circumstances that happen. But over time, what we're seeing is there's more of a leveling out, right? And a reduction of symptoms. And that's what we're really working towards, is we want to create change in the short term. Yes, that's great. That alleviates some of the distress and gives us space to deal with the day-to-day in a different way. But the goal is really to help the nervous system, the brain, the mind to learn how to kind of operate at a different state, right? And trauma really drastically disrupts our nervous system, disrupts the way that our brain waves even, work. So being able to help re-regulate the body, the brain, the mind helps to almost have a new set point. So I thank you for letting us share this, Jennifer, but I just think it's really remarkable to see that, really for the past chunk of sessions that we've had, there's been kind of a reduction that's been pretty consistent over time. And that's what we want to keep seeing as we go.
And that's saying 23 sessions.
Mhm.
So you take 6 years, and in 23 sessions, you've had a dramatic shift. That's
Yeah, and that would be
amazing.
about half and half. So we're tracking treatment sessions as well. So I don't know exactly, because like I said, there was a little bit of time where we stopped, and I'm thinking it's some of this spike in here where we stopped doing the therapy sessions. And I thought, oh, it would be really helpful to focus on the nervous system. And I think it was your doctor that remarked first on, I think you need to be doing the processing. And yeah, that was really helpful as well. So good.
And maybe, Laura, you should just comment on the neurofeedback, because this is new.
Yeah.
And yeah, so do you want to now, or do you want to do that?
It's kind of built into my presentation.
Okay.
So if it's okay, like
yeah.
we can transition into that, because there's some visuals with that and
Yeah.
sponsor recognition.
Great.
Yeah. But thank you so much for sharing and being here.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
It was delightful. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you for sharing.
Okay, then, so do you want to